Meteorologist Casey Cloud live with you here on this Thursday. We're tracking a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Clay, Duval, and St. Johns counties right now until 5:15. This is being issued here about 10 minutes ago or so from the Weather Service office there in Jacksonville. And we're really watching this very carefully right now with this scenario. At about 4:50, a severe thunderstorm is located near Wardgolf Village or near Fruit Cove, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail. A possibility in here as we're looking at things. But also there is some weak rotation within the Doppler algorithms here. So we gotta remain alert for some type of spin that tries to reach the surface. And in fact, we did get some reports here that before this severe thunderstorm warning was issued, that the public reported a funnel cloud near US Highway 17 to south of Green Cove Springs about 4:45. And then right here, probably, as the warning was coming out, if not maybe just moments before, train spotter reported numerous trees had been knocked down in the vicinity of Asbury Lake. So, that's not exactly what you want to hear, obviously. We didn't have a warning in play, for that accident as we were looking. There is rotation here, though, and, we got to be very mindful of that. Let me go ahead and back this on up a little bit as I'm kind of tracking the situation. We had some spin now. The report of the tree damage is out here, which is a little bit, not necessarily maybe aligning with a tornado or something, but, and then the funnel clouds way to the south, that's a little bit peculiar, but southern Duval County, there's some rotation here. I wouldn't be surprised if they issue a quick tornado warning here, but we haven't had a tornado warning with this. It's a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag as we're looking here toward I-95 in southern Duval County. We have some spin there just as you get in toward Duval County there. So let me go ahead and see what we might have here with the very latest. I'm trying to effort some cameras here in that area to try to keep you guys safe and informed here in this situation. So we want to look for a camera around the Durban area. Let me see if I can pull up a camera in that vicinity as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here. See what I can find. This camera's moving quite a bit, so let's just pull it on in. I-95 north of State Road 9B here, mile marker 333. You can definitely see it. It's been rocking and rolling here a little bit with this severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect in parts of Duval, Clay, and St. Johns counties. So just got to be mindful of that here. Just have to be cognizant of the situation as we're tracking it. Let me go ahead and move away from this one, see if I can find anything else here in toward that area. As we're looking right on that bend there, as we're getting, east, from Durban, so up toward the west of Durban there. As we're tracking the situation. Let me see what else I can find. Let's pull this one up, I-95 north of Old St. Augustine Road. Definitely, a rough evening commute here with these storms that are evolving. Gotta be really careful with these, obviously. Make road conditions very hazardous and make them very slick. You saw that blast there, it would appear. I was looking in the corner of my eye when I saw it, but just always got to be very careful in these type of situations as we're looking, and as we're just trying to be really, safe here on the roads. So again, we have a severe thunderstorm, one of the tornado possible tag. The worst of this around the Durban area, give or take. As we're looking, towards southern Duval County as well. So, in the vicinity of Bayard there, it's got to be really cognizant there. I know. Let me pull up our other wind mode. And then I'm going to go back to radar now. A lot of heavy rain in this. That's our only warning. We actually had, in North Georgia, in the 3 o'clock hour, a confirmed tornado on debris tracker kind of came from something that was really not sowing much at all, no warning, and not much rotation, and then it really tied, and we had a really quick debris signature class I-75 there. So that's not a good situation, and we're still trying to get updates on what may have happened there. It's not in McDonough, Georgia, but in that vicinity where that was going on earlier on. It was in Henry County, Georgia, in fact. So as we're tracking things, but let me go ahead and check this rotation in our area. We got a shear marker here right near I-95. So we really need to be very careful here as we're tracking things. I don't know if there's any debris with that. I don't, not necessarily seeing it, but goodness, so you know what? I mean, well, the angle on that's a little bit weird though. That almost looks like a little something in there. That's not exactly, I wouldn't necessarily see that type of signature in a normal thunderstorm here, but that's not overwhelming evidence that there might be something there. But you gotta be really ready to take those tornado precautions west of Durban. There's no tornado warning with this here, but there's a tornado possible tag. So as we continue here with this situation, we continue to monitor it. Let's take it under the camera perspective. So there's I-95 at Old St. Augustine Road. It's a very, very slow go, it looks like, on the road in these type of conditions. Not ideal for sure for that evening commute. Well, let me go back to that. It's actually picking up a little bit more, maybe. So a little bit more of that kind of wind as I was looking a little closer at it there. Even a little bit scarier looking. You see the dark skies there in that view top right. Trees blowing around there. Again, this is a live look at some very, very slow, if not, maybe standstill traffic at points there on in the I-95 area at Old St. Augustine Road. Let's see what else we can find on the traffic camera, the Florida 501 perspectives. Seeing what we might be able to visualize here. Let's go to another viewpoint. I know we did get an update on the warning. They've canceled Clay now, but they're continuing Duval and St. John's for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and weak rotation that could, be indicative of the potential to need an upgrade to a tornado warning at some point because there could be a possible tornado. See that top right again, dark, dark skies here. Telling that weather story. A nasty situation there. Not ideal. Rough go of the commute. As we come back on over here to the Doppler. Not moving all that fast. It's kind of lingering over these areas. The movement is, they're saying 45 miles an hour, weather service is. But it's a pretty slow mover. The latest update at 5:07, severe thunderstorm located over Sawgrass or near Ponte Vedra Beach, PVB there. PV Beach, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter-size hail in Ponte Vedra Beach, Jacksonville Beach, Palm Valley, Sawgrass, Nocatee, Bayard, and Durban here under this. And this remaining alert for a possible tornado. Tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. If you spot a tornado, go at once into that small center room in a sturdy structure. And for your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. And keep in mind that torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm and may lead to some flash flooding, so do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Very important information to keep in mind here. Looking for any type of debris on this scanner. Don't really see it, at least. As we're continuing to give you guys the very latest, there is some hail intensity maybe upticking a little on my other source here. So let me go ahead and go on over to that. It is showing 1.26 inches. At one point, it was showing a little bit there of that uptick near I-95. So I don't know if it's quite that big, quite honestly, but it could just indicate, how strong this storm is. And there could be, a good bit of the hail, if it's even a little bit smaller, though, where it's falling. A warning, though, that's what is curious. It was first issued here, they were talking about quarter-size hail. And they're still talking about quarter-size hail. I mean, if, they thought it was any bigger than that, they would have went to like 1.25 inches or something. But as we're continuing to track this, we have the rotation tracker, and then as we're going between things, hail tracker actually did have this upticking there a little bit more further, back toward the river, it looks like, as we're tracking things into toward Duval and St. Johns counties. Again, a dangerous weather situation here as we're monitoring it. I'm going to just go ahead and keep looking at some things. And I know that's not generally what we sell, but it says there is some hail potential in there. 1 hour rainfall. We're seeing about an inch in some of these areas further back toward the west. We've got about 3/10 where we're at east of Stark on my rain gauge so far. Need more than that, though, but we at least it's got, a little bit added to it. I know as we're continuing to track things here, moving in toward northern St. Johns County a little bit more so here, and southern Duval County especially, as we're, seeing that lightning spread across toward the coast. Northern St. John's and then southern Duval, it's covering that whole tip here that kind of angles on down. As we're continuing to track all this here for you, let me see what kind of power outage number do we have. If a trained weather spotter was reporting, numerous trees down in the vicinity of Asbury Lake, that's very concerning. But it didn't necessarily match up where they had to report on the radar. So that's also kind of odd. But let's see, we do have over 3,000 customers in the dark in Clay County. Almost all of those on Clay Electric. There are 2,997 customers without electricity as of a moment ago. I'm going to take their outage map directly then behind the scenes. As we're kind of looking at things. There are a few outages in Union, too. They had some storminess. Wasn't never warned over there. But we did have some storminess there. There's a few outages in Union, but noteworthy. But Clay County and Clay Electric, that's where that story is kind of, being, noted there and is more noteworthy. So let me go ahead and keep looking at things here. In fact, okay, 3,017 Clay Electric customers without power. Without power there right now. So that's a lot. In Clay County, that is. So Clay County Clay Electric customers over 3,000 in the dark. So we did have a little spin up here. But then the report is down here, which is a little bit odd. I'm trying to kind of figure out, I don't wonder that the LSRs in the exact right spot. I'm going to check for hail report to my other source. Bear with me. I got to move some things around here. Okay, there's a couple of different, well, those are the same reports I've already seen, I think. Well, okay, 3-inch limbs broken, in that area and the like. But I'm backing up on the radar. If you're wondering what I'm doing, this is before the warning got issued by a good bit here. It wasn't all that clear of a signature either, especially being this close to the radar. I mean, it started to become that, but let me take the warning information off just so, because I'm a little bit, I can see why there would be a funnel cloud on the southern flank here. Some different things coming together. That merger of the storm action trying to happen. That would kind of make sense, the funnel cloud, but then the report of the damage is further to the north, so I'm just not sure about, let me see if I have a debris signature, if I can back it up in that area. This is a volatile pattern. I just Not sure if, maybe it was just a downburst of wind that did that. It's possible. So, is that a debris signature? No, that's not a debris signature there. Huh. I guess it was on the edge of this. Maybe. Maybe that's where that was, on the edge there. Be interesting to see how much, because our report made it sound really significant there in terms of damage. They're saying numerous trees were knocked down around Asbury Lake before really the warning got issued there in Clay County. So, because I mean, they saw it and reported at 4:50, so that was before the warning got issued. I don't know, let me back it up again. And the warning never actually covered the areas with the reports, the funnel cloud and the storm report there. So that's just the way it is. Sometimes in summertime, in a time frame ish, around that, you gotta just be weather aware. And it's more about lightning and stuff, but even that type of stuff where you have wind damage, not necessarily funnel cloud, that's a little bit, less likely in the summertime, accident. Once you get later on in there, I mean, actually having something drop down, but, the wind report, the wind damage can happen without severe thunderstorm warnings. It happens every summer, I would say, here and there. It's not that often, but it can happen. It does happen. So you just have to be weather aware. We, try to give you the best heads up we can, but obviously there was apparently some significant damage here around Asbury Lake before the warning was able to be issued here because, I mean, it wasn't that clear of a signature. I mean, I kind of maybe said the more I look at it, the more I see why maybe something did happen there, but that's not something that I probably would have issued a warning on either until it got to about the time they issued a warning. Maybe, maybe, let's see here. I mean, there's a little something up there east of Middleburg, east side of Middleburg. That's not really anything there. I mean, the mergers of the storms is kind of the problem. That's when I would start to think about something, but, maybe issue a warning, but it would be more for down in here where I'd be more concerned. And that is close to where we had the funnel cloud. That's not where we had the damage report so far. So that's what's kind of peculiar about it as we're looking at things. Okay, so it's 5:18 now, so we have now gone past the severe thunderstorm warning expiration time pretty quickly because we've been so busy talking about things. I don't guess they're going to re-extend that here at this point. I have the advisory in play till 5:30 for 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I was issued at 4:43, 50-mile-an-hour wind gust and pea-sized hail. So we'll stick with this just a little longer. And they did this as a new advisory at 6 o'clock now up into Duval, coastal Nassau. So it's some more activity. Inland Nassau, the Trout River there. Let's see. Well, okay. I wish they wouldn't do it like this. They put all in different parts and then they put it together. Okay, so it's not for all those spots there that I was just saying. Okay, for central Nassau, north central Duval, and south central Camden through 6 o'clock. So that's kind of the storyline there. Okay, so that's the new advisory, not a warning, but it's not necessarily directly for, all parts of all the zones I was saying, but specifically it's for central Nassau, north central Duval, and south central Camden. So that's the storyline there. I mean, obviously something happened there. We have over 3,000 customers without power in Clay County on Clay Electric. I mean, and in Clay County in general, it is at 3,155 customers in the dark. I mean, Union County actually has 663 out, which we didn't have a warning ever over there. We had some strong storm action, but, this can't happen this time of year. It has and does happen, but 3% of Clay County in the dark. I mean, let's see, so the cluster and the outages there. It looks like I'm just trying to get a better angle on here. I'm just zooming on my Clay Electric information behind the scenes. I mean, it's kind of all scattered around in there at some points, but I'm going to pull it up on my other source here. I don't know if I'll put it on the screen or not, depending on what I can kind of see. But I'm just going to put it on this screen because it's a little slow to load on my other source here. So let me just go ahead There's a lot of information is what I mean, but you know, to load in here and the like. But I'm just gonna check here. I mean, there's quite a few people in the dark. Quite a few people without electricity. So let me go ahead and see what we're doing with. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and take the Clay Electric Cooperative Outage Map full then. Let's go ahead and go over there on our source, you know, information. We have 4,333 out on the Clay Electric total. Some in Union, a little bit in Putnam, it looks like. Let me go ahead and put it by county here. So as we kind of look, we'll go ahead and you see Clay 3,054, 777 in Putnam. We haven't had any warnings down there. Union 137, a lot to a 63 customers in the dark on Clay Electric only. So I'm talking about, that's, you know, really in Clay County, that's what we're talking about here. Something happened there, and I think it was before we had the warning. I don't know if it was a downburst of wind or an actual tornado. And we didn't ever have a tornado warning, but it's not actually covering the areas that are under, you know, underneath the, you know, damage there. The warning never covered the damage area either because kind of already progressing a little bit further on over. So, because it's, you know, a little bit of JEA and FP&L according to the power outage information on poweroutage.us, but it's mainly obviously Clay Electric in Clay County as we're looking at things. And let me go ahead and zoom in here. You see it quite a bit, you know, clustered along Blandon Boulevard and point east of that. So, let's see here. We have 808 customers in the dark there, right around Blandon Boulevard and Alligator Boulevard. By the way, there's a report of pea-sized hail and strong wind gusts at 5:05 in the Durban area in St. John's. We were talking about Durban, so it wasn't overwhelming, maybe. You know, Durban area there, Nocatee, maybe wasn't quite as strong later on, but then we have more outages up Blandon Boulevard here, and then as we continue to look, Middleburg High School, and then you see 42 customers in the dark there, further up. We have some more in the dark around Russell Road, 32, 1. We see around Doctor's Lake, we have 19 customers in the dark, 2 customers on, well, that one, some of them is trying to add together. I know it's kind of weird how it does that, but 35 in the dark further up. So around Asbury Lake in total, we're just trying to get the, you know, grasp on things as we continue to track them. We continue, it's Middleburg to Russell. Okay, that's where some of the damage was apparently. Okay, so quite a few folks here in the dark though. Not overwhelming, but I'm just trying to give you an idea here what's going on. Looks like maybe, okay, so we had a funnel cloud then. Looks like over 1,000 customers in the dark. So let's see if we can zoom on in, but the funnel cloud is not reported in the same spot as the wind damage, which is what's confusing me. And there's 2 different areas, it seems like, of maybe issues with if this is, you know, what we're looking at here. I'm going to go up north real quick. It looks like there's, you know, one area here, one area here. So let me go ahead and switch back over to our other maps at 5:24 on this Thursday. I mean, we had 2 different storms, and then they were merging. This one produced a funnel, and then up here, you know, produced maybe more significant damage. Both of them produced power outages, though, as they were coming together. And at this point, the thought process is that it's more strong versus severe in terms of the winds, 35 and 25 though. So I mean, you could get a gust in there close to 60, but they're staying within advisory. for now. The Weather Service in Jax. Let's go to the Tallahassee radar. Some stuff in the Gulf here trying to get closer to the coast, but not as healthy as it's been at points. Let's see if there's any other maybe reports that I can see from what's happened in Clay County. Bear with me. Just trying to get the very latest information in to protect you, your friends, and your family. Okay, so not necessarily seeing anything here. Let me check another source. See if we have anything. And we do have a new advisory from Marion. And then let's see here. I'm not really seeing anything here in terms of reports other than what Weather Service has reported in. We have this is a Tallahassee radar, so we need to switch, obviously. And let's go to the Tampa. Back to no man's land with the radars in Ocala again, like we were tracking earlier on. There's an advisory on that now. That honestly looks kind of interesting. Right there on Ocala. And it could be producing, they're saying, pea-sized hail. I would say it could be up to 3/4 of an inch in diameter, quite honestly, with that type of signature. But we're having to look way high up on this, which makes it hard, really hard. And then pea-sized hail reported in the Fruit Cove area around 5 o'clock in northwestern St. Johns County. Let's check some power outages at St. John's. Figure out what might have happened over there. So power outage.us. Clay County, we have, according to their, total numbers, 1,155 customers. To repeat, 3,155 customers in the dark there. 887 out in Putnam County. Union County actually has 664, but St. John 614. Duval, actually it's a high number, but it's a low percentage, 2,611 customers without electricity. And that's kind of the storyline there. So some pretty nasty weather coming on through. Since we don't have any formal warnings right now, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up, but we'll be back as needed here. And if necessary, it's very tricky with this stuff. Didn't have a warning. I think we had a pretty decent amount of damage, unfortunately, there in the Clay County before it was able to be noted on radar. It's kind of hard to tell what was going on there, but, in a way, once you think about summertime storms, as I think about it, I'm thinking, well, that can happen. We have those mergers going on, something weird. It could be a couple weird things happening. So just have to always stay on top of things. Hurricane special tonight at 10 o'clock. Long as things don't just get way out of hand here. Ocala, that could be producing again hail almost to an inch. Let's just give you that heads up right now. That could be hail about an inch in Ocala right this minute. Right there just east of I-75 in the Ocala Metro. So just be aware of that. And, maybe on the north side of Ocala, they go to their raw radar, because that radar runs add all the radar together, and it runs a little behind. But this is the Jackson radar, probably more now on 301 north side of Ocala, heading up there toward Anthony. So Anthony and some of those areas. So they've been getting pretty, nasty weather down there today in that county. So that's kind of the storyline there. You see quite a bit cooler out toward Albany, Tallahassee, and it's going to be stormy tomorrow. Could impact college baseball, unfortunately. As we're looking, those areas further off north and west, going to have a slight risk of severe weather even in play. Maybe not Tallahassee proper, but it's a 2 out of 5. So we do have a slight risk today, though, in an area that really hadn't got much. I mean, as I look here, let me zoom in. Let's see. I mean, the worst of that was just outside of the slight. So like I mentioned earlier on, it doesn't necessarily stick to the boundaries of these. So you just kind of have to stay weather aware and in tune for the very latest information here as we try to protect you, your friends, and your family. I know tomorrow we have that risk here. It's going to be more organized. I know the risk numbers don't so much of a difference, but there's more, concern because we have a boundary trying to actually come on through. So it could be more of the overall accent coming together here. I know. By the way, a delayed report from early this morning. 9:07 a.m. a line down on A&N Road in Gadsden County. So that's in our system here. I think that's a delayed report. I may have just not seen that here. But and we're continuing to track the situation. And that happened right when they were dropping that warning there. I mean, I didn't think there's enough to go on for those warnings this morning we had out toward the west, but just going ahead and looking at things here, tracking things here in toward the weather center. Just trying to read over a couple things on the fly. So always got to stay on top of the situation. Dixie County, some strong thunderstorm accent over there, but not severe. Try to give you a heads up on stuff. We got a 96 in Gainesville today with the climate report, 93 in Jacksonville. But there's a Dixie County, strong thunderstorm around Cross City, but not severe. Doesn't seem, at least. It's, and let's go ahead and go to the radar over there. Hard to say, we're so far away, but I think that's going to do it for now. We thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back as warranted. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. It's all about trying to keep you guys safe and informed here. We hope everybody's all right there after what happened in Clay County. There's different reports. Funnel cloud, which is staying above the surface, but then the power outages aren't. And Asbury Lake, apparently 2 miles east is where they put in the OSR. Local storm reporter saying numerous trees were knocked down there. So that's kind of concerning. Okay. Don't have any report to injuries at this point, though, but we'll continue to be efforting, the very latest here on what might have happened in toward that area. It's just always important to stay on top of things. So that's going to do it. Well, again, we're breaking back in here as conditions do warn. I'm just checking one more source here to make sure I don't have anything, new that I can pass along here. This is just a one-man band here. I'm on, the fly doing this and trying to give you guys all the latest updates. So don't see anything right off. Just always got to stay on top of the situation here. And even if there's not warnings, just whenever thunder roars, go indoors. When you have a storm coming in this time of year, treat it like it is a severe storm and get inside and get away from windows because things can develop before they're really obvious on the Dopplers. Important to keep in mind. We'll see you guys with more later on.